Failing to plan is planning to fail. We should all plan for the future. We should plan for our future. We should plan for our children's future. We often worry about what our child will be tomorrow, yet we forget that he's a someone today. So hold on to that thought while I explain the planning process. Today, we are going to do the planning process. Now, the planning process has got 7 steps and they have to be done one after the other. You cannot change the steps in the process. So, let's start. The first step is setting objectives. Now, objectives have to be set for the entire organization, but all the departments have to work towards it. All the departmental objectives are derived from the main objective. For example, the objective of an organization is to increase sales by 20%. So all the departments that are there, they have to contribute towards that. The production has to increase its production, the marketing will have to sell, only then the target will be achieved. And these objectives should be very specific and clear. If the objectives are not clear, the people working in the organization will not know what they have to do. For example, if I tell you, I expect you to get reasonably good marks. Now, what does reasonably good marks mean? It means nothing. A child who's failing, for the child 50% is also very good. And a child who's aspiring to get 95 and above, even 80% is very poor. So if you just tell a child, I expect you to get reasonably good marks, it actually means nothing. Therefore, in an organization, the objectives should be very specific and clear. Each person should know what is expected of him. And if the end result is clear, then it becomes much easier to achieve the goal. For example, if a worker has started working in your factory, you tell him that I expect you to make 10 units today. So by half time, if he has made 6 units, he will know that he just has to make 4 units more. So when he knows the goal, he will be able to achieve it better. Therefore, the first step in planning is setting objectives. Once objectives have been set, then the premises have to be decided. Premises means assumptions about the future. Now, future is uncertain. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. Therefore, certain assumptions have to be made about the future. These assumptions are called premises, and these are the base material upon which the plans are made. Now, you just cannot guess anything about the future and make the plans. So these assumptions, they are based on forecast and past information. So whenever any plan is to be made, you make forecast about the future based on the information that you already had. And these assumptions that are made have to be the same for everybody. For everybody should agree. For example, suppose noodles were to be introduced in India. Instant noodles at one point of time were introduced in India. So that company which introduced instant noodles, everybody in that company had to agree about the procedure of selling it, about the people who are going to buy, about the price, etc. So assumptions about the future, because this was a new thing. So everybody had to agree. If the management themselves don't agree, then how will the consumers agree? So your product may not sell at all. So therefore, the assumptions, everybody in the organization should agree. And this forecast on which the assumptions are based could be about the product policy, about the interest rate that's there in that particular country, the tax rate, etc. If you can make the assumptions accurately, the more the accurate the assumptions are, the more successful the plan will be. So premises are nothing but assumptions. Then identifying alternate course of action. Now, once you have set the objectives and decided the premises, then in that case, now you see the various alternative course. Whenever anybody plans a business, they're looking for various alternatives. You just don't jump into the business like that. For example, I'm thinking of starting a school. So I have got various alternatives, like I could start a primary school, a girls' school, a sports school, an international school, a residential school, a smart school, etc. I've got so many choices. So first, I'll identify the various alternative course of action that I have. Now, when you are going in for an alternate course of action, you could be opening up something totally new. That is innovative. You might be doing something that is nobody has done. Like, for example, in the Western countries, they have got these robots cleaning the houses. But in India, it's not that popular as yet. So you have to, when you are doing something innovative, you must consult a large number of people before it can be done. If you think that people are buying robots in artificial intelligence in Japan and in America, let's do that in India. But in India, the circumstances may not be the same. We have got too much of dust in our country, and we have got maids. There they have a problem of housekeeping. People don't come for menial jobs. So maybe that is the only solution for them. It may work out there, it may not work out here. So all the alternatives that are there, you have to see. And if you are thinking of something new or innovative, then you must consult a large number of people, because before you go through those alternatives. Then evaluating the various alternatives. Now, first of all, you decide what are the alternatives available. In this step, they are evaluated, or the pros and cons are seen of each and every. Pros and cons means the plus and minus points of each. So you thrash it out and see which is best, weigh the pros and cons of each other against it. And you can also use the risk return analysis. So if you're putting a lot of money, that means you should get return. So the risk should not be too much. If you're taking risk, then the return should be justified. And to evaluate these various alternatives, you could use earnings per share, interest rate, dividend rate. These are the various parameters you could use to decide as to which alternative would be suiting you best. Then finally, once you've weighed the pros and cons of all the alternates, like I talked about starting a school. So I weighed all the alternatives. For a sports school, you need a sports person, to a very, very well-known sports personality who can come and visit your school and coach the children. And I don't know anybody. Smart school would be very expensive. So would international school. So maybe I can settle down for a primary school. So this is the stage of decision making. This is where you have to actually decide what you want to do. So selecting an alternative means now you finally decide that this is the real point of decision making. And the plan that you have made till now, you've been thinking of a plan. Now it's the time for you to put that into action. But what would an ideal plan be? There's nothing called an ideal plan, but any plan that is feasible, profitable, with the least consequences, which is the most feasible for you. Maybe with your range of money, the area you want to cover, then that plan might be the most feasible for you. If I want to open a school, maybe a primary school would be good. But if a very rich businessman wants to open, maybe he'll open a residential school or some such school. So depending upon the person to person, what is going to be your ideal plan. And sometimes to decide which particular alternative to choose, the manager has to use his own judgment, his vision, his logical thinking, his experience. That comes in very handy. And often, a combination of plans are chosen. For example, I go in for a primary school. And I think, okay, now primary school, small children are coming, their parents are working, they might be free only after 5 o'clock. So let me extend it into a crèche also, or let the children stay back in school and do their homework, and eats and all, everything can be given to them. They can be taken care of till their parents come in the evening and pick them up. So a combination of two different plans could be clubbed and the new plan could be made. So this is the fifth step where selecting an alternative is done. Then comes implementing the plan. Till now, everything was paperwork. Now comes the time to implement the plan. And this is the step where all other managerial functions also come into action. Now, for example, I want to increase the productivity. So I'll have to engage more labor, more machinery, more raw material. So everything has to be arranged. More than just making plans, other things also have to be arranged. So in this step, we implement the plan, and various other functions of management also come into being. Now, for example, labor, how much labor will you require? How are you going to purchase the machinery? How much machinery you require? All these decisions are taken under this step. And then finally, we have follow-up. Now you have implemented the plan. The plan has come into action. Now you need to see whether the plan is going on fine or not. If it's not going on fine, then you need to implement plan B or maybe change it. So to see whether the plans are being implemented and activities are actually being performed according to what you want, that is done in follow-up. So making the plan is important, but follow-up is also equally important, because if you do not follow it up properly, then your plan may not be successful. So to make your plan successful, you need to follow it up also. Now I've included some tips and tricks in this because steps, all the steps you have to learn, and in that particular order. So just to help children remember the steps, I've coined a small word, ISI. You know, ISI mark, you must have heard, because there are 3 steps dealing with alternative: third, fourth, and fifth alternative. So children often forget one of the alternative, they forget when they're writing the process. So identifying alternative, one I have taken from there, then I've left E in between. Selecting an alternative is S from selecting an alternative, then implementing the plan I. So ISI are these 3 steps. In between, E has been squeezed in. I, then E, then SI. So just to remember ISI, and in between there's a small E. So how to remember the planning process, because in case studies also you might be asked one of the steps, so you should be able to remember. So ISI is a method through which children remember. That's all in this video, children. Do stay subscribed and take very good care of yourself. Thank you.